The last 48 hours have not been kind to the Cardinals. Injuries, exhaustion, back-to-back losses. Now they're on the verge of a sweep, and that's not good. This is Locked On Cardinals.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily St. Louis Cardinals podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, Cardinals fans. I'm JD Haffron, and today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code Locked On for $20 off your first purchase. It's been a bit since I've had to wear the black with the black and the gray, which I don't know if you guys have noticed. When things are going well, I tend to wear brighter colors. Obviously, we get to wear the ugly shirt when they win some series, 5 in a row. Just got snapped after the loss on Saturday. But man, dude, injuries to the starting rotation have some wondering if maybe they should bring a former Cardinal back. We're going to get to that here in just a little bit. You had obviously the big thrilling game on Friday night where the Cardinals did lose, simply ran out of bodies. And then we have what we saw yesterday where the Cardinals and rookie Quinn Mathews got blasted by the Phillies. But let's start with the injuries and what's going on with the rotation, who's available to help out. You know, we said going into the series that after the amount of energy that they had to exert to escape from Cincinnati with a series win, that life was going to be tough in Philadelphia. And I warned you. I was like, if they go to Philly and things get ugly, don't be surprised. Just because of everything they've gone through to get up to that point, there's just not enough people left. And scheduling wise, we knew it didn't match up well for the Cardinals, who had played 8 games in 7 days, while the Phillies had played just 5 and 7. So that was an advantage for Philly. They weren't layup type of games either for the Cardinals. Not like they were just cruising through victories to get to this point either, as has been the case for most of the season. Each game pretty hard fought and close, outside of, ironically, the 2 games in Chicago against the Cubs, where they won 8-4 and 11-4. Everything else, though, was pretty darn tight. 3-0, 2-1, 6-5, 3-0, 5-4, 10-9. There's not a team alive that wouldn't be exhausted after a stretch like that. And to see them fight and claw the way they did on Friday night to push that game to extra innings, a game that, yeah, I think you and I both agree, Cardinals should have won that game. You know, they had it set up to win. And they simply just ran out of bodies. You got Jose Fermin out in center field, who is not a center fielder. He goes out there because they needed him to. And at that point, enough moves had been made where that's where they had him go. And he didn't make the catch. And yeah, Nathan Church and Everson Pereira probably make those catches. But didn't happen. Didn't happen. They lose in extra innings. It was one of those moral victories. And I know it doesn't count in the standings, so everybody's like, well, who cares? But call me a softie or a homer, whatever you want. But that was one hell of a game. But what happened in that game that really put a damper on things above all else was the injury to Hunter Dobbins. And it's been an ongoing, and I don't want to say joke, but a point of pride that the Cardinals have somehow, some way been able to escape without dealing with any significant arm injuries to their starting rotation for quite a while now. They've been able to keep their pitchers very healthy, healthier than anyone else in the league, really. Pitch counts, keeping an eye on their innings, even though it upset some fans who want Ollie and the guys to push these guys so they don't have to rely on the bullpen as much. I get it. But it's kept these guys on the mound more than most. And when you look at the depth that you have in the system, they needed these guys to stay out there because there isn't a lot ready. There just isn't. Now they're working on that. Obviously, you look at the talent that they've got at the A and AA levels. There's a couple guys at AAA, obviously, that are starting to make their way up. But there's not a lot that was going to be able to help this team this year. And when you lost Richard Fitz, that was a huge loss. That's not good. You're still waiting on Tekoa Roby to come back. Eshawn Henderson injury also dampens things. So there just wasn't a lot. So they got to keep these guys on the mound. And it all came crashing down in a 24-hour period on Friday when it was announced that Andre Pallante is going on the IL with what is being described as elbow inflammation. They don't think it's anything serious, but they thought enough of it to, look, let's just rest you for a little bit and we'll get you back. First arm issue for a Cardinal since Sonny Gray in 2024, which was remarkable. Now the Cardinals also don't have a bunch of dudes pumping triple digits. So maybe the arm injuries aren't something that should be happening to a lot of their guys already, but still pretty impressive that they've been able to keep everybody healthy. So when that injury happened, they recalled Ryan Fernandez, and we knew Quinn Mathews was already set up to start on Saturday. So now you feel like you're kind of covered. You got Quinn taking over. You're going to be good. But fourth inning on Friday, Dobbins goes down. One pitch into that fourth inning, he's gone. Dreaded forearm tightness was the problem there. Now, the good news is, because when you hear forearm tightness, I immediately think Tommy John surgery. And it's not automatic that's what it is. But in my experience, it feels like it goes that way more times than not. But Dobbins, as I said, there was some good news here, who had Tommy John surgery in college, told reporters, one thing I'm confident about is that it's not the same feeling as that. It was pretty night and day difference from that feeling. So maybe Hunter and the Cardinals dodged a bullet here. But now he's gone with a flexor strain, which sucks for everyone because Dobbins was finally a full-time member of the rotation after kind of being that yo-yo guy for most of the year because the Cardinals were healthy. They didn't need him to come up all the time. But after the Dustin May trade in Milwaukee, he earned his spot, had pitched pretty well at the big leagues, and now he's gone for what I would assume would be an extended amount of time. I'm not going to, mark his name off in pen that he's done for the year, but it wouldn't shock me if he was. They're like, all right, let's just hold up and bring him back next year. But we'll see how severe this ends up being because they'll get more testing done on Monday when they get to St. Louis. But so after going almost 2 years without issues, the Cardinals lose 2 members of their starting rotation in one day. Oh, by the way, and you also have to play the hottest team in baseball. So the Phillies, after winning Saturday, they've now won 8 in a row. So is anyone going to feel sorry for the Cardinals? Of course not. But the reality is the deck has been stacked against them basically all season with deciding to rebuild, which is fine. We all agreed that was the right move. They didn't spend any money, so depth was going to be an issue. The youth on the team, and they've overcome a lot of this for most of the year. And you do that, and you feel like you're still on the hunt for this wild card. And to get to the dog days of August and be dealt 2 major blows like that it sucks. So we'll feel a little bit sorry for ourselves for a moment, but you got to move on. And the names on the 40-man roster that might be able to help with things, Bryson Motts, who we saw briefly earlier this season, and then former first-round pick Cooper Durpee, who has looked really, really good at AAA Memphis. But again, he's coming back from an injury himself. So how much do you want to push him? Is this the right moment to bring him up to the big leagues? We'll see. There's also been mentions of reuniting with Miles Mikolas, which I think it's tongue-in-cheek that people are doing that online. But I think a little bit in the back of your mind, you're like, what? Got DFA'd by Washington. Familiar name. People loved him in the clubhouse. Familiar face. He's healthy. Wasn't very good. Wasn't very effective. Was sporting an ERA close to 7 over his last 8 appearances. 3 of those were in relief. So you're not getting somebody who's doing anything good. Personally, I'm not interested in that. I don't want Miles Mikolas back. I don't. We've been down that road. We cut ties. Let's move on with our lives. Lizard King, God bless you. But let's keep it this way. Let's see what else we got out there. There are other free agents maybe you could look into as well. But I think you're going to look inward at what you got in your organization first. So I want to talk about Saturday's game next. One that got off to a really bad start for Quinn Mathews and didn't get a whole lot better. But there was a silver lining to things. I guess we could find something good that came out of yesterday's game. So we'll talk about it coming up next on Locked On Cardinals. If you've got a sweet tooth like I do, especially with the Halloween season coming up where now candy is everywhere, you know how tough it is to find that perfect treat without all the sugar. That's why the Fruity Rainbow 5-Hour Energy Shot brings that nostalgic flavor back in a whole new way. Fruity Rainbow 5-Hour Energy Shots, they treat your taste buds to an explosion of fruity flavor, but you also get that tasty caffeine kick, which you're looking for, right? You're getting that little boost. It's a quick and easy way to satisfy not only your sweet craving, but keeping it very simple and on the go at the same time. Zero sugar treat that's small, it's portable, it doesn't fill me up. I can grab one whenever I need it and take it as a quick pick-me-up. I mean, they're this big. It's not like having to drink a whole can of whatever else is out there. I think the 5-hour is the smart move. It's become my go-to when I want something sweet, but I don't want to go overboard. And you can get candy-flavored chaos with Fruity Rainbow 5-Hour Energy Shots right now. It's available online at 5hourenergy.com, where you can find it on Amazon. Once again, Fruity Rainbow 5-Hour Energy Shots available now, 5hourenergy.com or on Amazon. There's nothing like watching a Cardinals game live and in person at Busch Stadium. The excitement, the concessions, the beauty of Busch Stadium, now that it's starting to cool off in the St. Louis area, won't be quite as while we're there. But it's a lot of fun to be out there. And you got a young team that's still in this wild card hunt. The only problem is getting tickets can sometimes feel like a grind. You got long queues, you got surprise fees, prices jumping up at checkout. You don't want that. That's why we got Game Time. The Game Time app gives fans the advantage with constant innovation, and it's how you can unlock amazing tickets and experiences in just a few taps. Very simple to use. I promise you, the Game Time guarantee means you're going to get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time at the best price. And the best part is fees are included in the price you see. What you see is what you pay, period. And this is good not only for going to Busch Stadium to see the Cardinals, but it's going to see any other sports you want to watch, whether it's going to be football. Obviously, NFL preseason is underway. If you want to go watch a game, and we don't have a team in St. Louis, but Battlehawks, you want to go see them, you can do that. College football, college basketball, all of this stuff. Like Game Time's got tickets to all of these events. 2 taps and it's done. No stress, no hidden fees. Great seats and minutes. Take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account. Use the code Locked On for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Thanks for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen of the day. Thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. Bad games are going to happen for everyone. It just happens that Quinn Mathews' worst game as a major leaguer happened right when the Cardinals really needed him to not have a bad game. And such is life. Ish happens. Saturday, after losing Pallante and Dobbins, the Cardinals had to turn to the former minor league pitcher of the year to help ease the pain a little bit and eat some innings. And instead, the Phillies showed no remorse whatsoever and came out and bashed Mathews and the Cardinals 12-3. How rude, which is to be expected from Philly because that's a really good baseball team. And the fact that they have not been able to take off all year until recently has been a bit of a shocker to me, considering how good the rotation is, that lineup they got. At the deadline, they went and got pieces. Like, this should be a team that contends for the NL pennant. It should be. Like, they should be able to give the Dodgers and give the Cubs all they can handle, and the Braves. Mathews allowed, 4 hits, 3 runs in that first inning, and it all starts with the leadoff walk, which, ironically, his only walk of the game. But he walks Kyle Schwarber to get things started, and we know leadoff walks are the devil. Trey Turner singles after that, but he gets the strike out of Harper, gets a rise to fly out. We're like, all right, maybe we can wiggle out of this little situation. But then Alec friggin' Bohm, he just seems to be a thorn in the side, and he's swinging a hot bat right now. But I feel like anytime the Cardinals play him, he's a pain in the butt. Singles on the first pitch he sees. Then it's former Cardinal Edmundo Sosa with that 2-out, 2-run double to right center. 3-0 right away. Nobody serves up revenge games to former Cardinals like the St. Louis Cardinals. Like, geez out, man. It doesn't matter if you have played years with this team or just a handful of games, you play the Cardinals and you used to be a member, you're going to have one of your best games ever. It just seems to happen like that all the time. So Edmundo Sosa, there he is. 2-out, 2-run double, 3-0. Gives up a couple more singles in that second inning, but gets the double play ball on Trey Turner. Crisis averted there. But the third inning gets real ugly. Strikes out Harper again to start the inning, but the Phillies get 4 straight singles. Sack fly. Then it's a double. Now it's 7-0. And this one feels like it's all but over. And I don't ever want to say that when it's the third inning because we've seen the Cardinals blow big leads. We've seen the Cardinals come back after being down big. But in that ballpark with the way Painter was pitching and just where the Cardinals are in their schedule, it just, you're like, oh gosh, man, this is bad. And not all of these pitches by Quinn Mathews were bad pitches, but the Phillies made them work. Some long counts in there, and they're cooking right now. And everything they hit just seemed to find grass. And it was one of those days at the ballpark. And now Ollie, at this point, it's 7-0, and he's got to decide whether to leave him in or pull him. And normally, if you're a fully stocked team, you're healthy, you're rested, and you're not worn out, you probably make a move. But Ollie doesn't have that luxury right now. They're like, dude, I'm sorry you're a rookie, but you kind of have to wear this. I need you to stay out there. They needed him to do his best, eat some more innings. And that's where the silver lining for what happened on Saturday comes into play here, because Mathews was able to get through 5. Instead of pulling him in that third inning, he retires the final 7 hitters he faces and gets through 5. So yay. But at the end of the day, very ugly line for the rookie. 5 innings, 7 runs, 10 hits, 3 strikeouts. All of them Bryce Harper, by the way, of all people, and 1 walk. Now, after the game, Ollie had some really good things to say, considering the circumstances of what's going on with the team and how things went for Quinn Mathews. Said, it was good that he was able to retire 8 of the last 9 in order to give us a couple of more innings because it was heavily needed. He could have easily folded, been out of there after the third. So that part is appreciated, and it's a big part of his growth, as well as not giving in and being too critical when things didn't go well. Things didn't go well after he left either. Ryan Fernandez comes in that 6th inning and immediately gets crushed. Double, single, sack fly, home run, another single, home run by Bryce Harper. 11-1 at this point. Pedro Pajes has to throw the 8th inning, gives up a home run to Schwarber. Cool stat by Rob Rains, though, at STLSportsPage.com. The homers by Harper and Schwarber were the first for the Phillies against the Cardinals this season. I didn't realize that. But when you go back, in their first 4 games, the Cardinals had faced 150 Phillies batters without allowing a home run, and they ran that streak to 179 before Harper's home run off Fernandez in the 6th inning. So that's kind of cool. I mean, that's a powerful lineup that you're dealing with there. Offensively, the Cardinals really didn't get anything going off of Painter until the 6th inning. He pitched really well against them last time they faced him, so he's kind of got their number. Alec Burleson singled in Blaze Jordan. J.J. Weatherholt hit his 17th home run of the year. That was in the 8th inning. Jose Fermin had an RBI in the 9th, but this game was never close. And as I've said since game 1 of this year, there's going to be a lot of learning going on with this team this year. And you've seen it, the growing pains, up and down. Some guys struggle. Sometimes they take off. How do they handle certain situations? How do you handle adversity? This is a very young team still with their back against the wall right now. They are beat up. It's the end of August. They're dying out there right now. It's a very long season, and they're learning how difficult it is in the major leagues and how many games and how it just wears you down. You've still got all of September to still go. They're also learning, though, when the chips are down like this, what it's like to compete for a playoff spot and how difficult it is. And even in defeat, where you get your brains kicked in on Saturday by a very good Phillies team, there are lessons to be learned, like how to handle such a game, how to move on from it, how to react to the situation individually and as a team. And life isn't going to get any easier for them today. They get Christopher Sanchez. So could win the Cy Young this year in the National League. It's a possibility. Mizorowski's probably got it wrapped up, but it's a possibility. And they have to try to beat him to avoid the sweep. So it's tough. This is some harsh lessons being learned right now. The team did make a roster move this morning, so we'll get you into that. Plus, how are things shaping up around the rest of the NL wildcard chase? We'll get into all of that coming up next on Locked On Cardinals. Let's talk about one of the most underrated organs in your body for just a moment, the liver. It's your body's filter processing everything you consume and performing more than 500 functions every day. And it's involved in things like your energy production, digestion, fat metabolism, vitamin storage. It's doing a lot of work behind the scenes. Pretty big deal. That's why giving your liver daily support can be an important part of building healthy habits moving forward. Dose for your liver is a clinically backed liver health supplement designed to support daily liver function. And unlike another capsule or a powder, Dose comes as a liquid 2-ounce daily shot that tastes like fresh squeezed orange juice if you haven't had it already. 0 sugar, 0 junk, 0 calories. Makes adding it into your daily routine pretty darn simple. Even with a busy schedule, you're going to be able to find time in the morning to take this real quick and move on with your day. And something with this many benefits, I believe it's worth it. You should make time for this. So if you're ready to give your liver the support it deserves, head to dosedaily.co. That's .co/LockedOnMLB or enter Locked On MLB to get 35% off your first subscription. Your body does so much for you. Let's do something for it. That's dosedaily.co/LockedOnMLB for 35% off your first month subscription. Thanks again for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen of the day. Thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. The Cardinals did make a move this morning. They have activated Ramon Urias from the 60-day IL. He is in the lineup today. He is playing second base. He's batting 7th. JJ is going to be at shortstop again with Mason Wynn still dealing with that thumb injury. Again, the boys are all beat up. And it's clear and active roster spot. The team is placing Everson Pereira on the 10-day IL with a bruised left hand after he got hit by a pitch. And it looked like it might have been broken when it happened. Luckily, that was not the case, but just more issues with the depth right now. So good to see Ramon coming back. The Cardinals have a couple open spots on the 40-man roster, so no additional move is needed there. They're now at 39, I believe, on the 40-man. The team finally will get an off day on Monday before they host the Orioles on Tuesday. So while life has been pretty tough on the Cardinals recently, how has the rest of the NL wildcard teams fared? Well, the Cubs have now lost 3 in a row, while the Phillies have won 8 straight. So now what seemed like an insurmountable amount of space between those two teams is 2 games. 2 games. The Phillies are now 2 back of the Cubs for that top wildcard spot, and they're only 3 back of Atlanta in the National League East. So not only are you facing the Phillies, who are playing really well, but now they're chasing down the rest of the people, and they're starting to feel themselves. Like, this was the worst time to play the Phillies. And it's funny because we just played them a week ago and took 2 of 3 from them, and they did not look like the same team that we're seeing right now. Like, they look hungry and aggressive and ready to go. So they're primed and ready at this moment. The Padres, who have also played really well recently, they've won their last 2 and are 2 games up on the Diamondbacks, who have split their last 2 games. They beat the Reds handedly on Friday night, and then they got beat badly by the Reds yesterday. So they've split their last 2. The Marlins have now passed the Cardinals after winning their last 2 games, but they're 4 back of San Diego. Cardinals are 4.5 back. And then behind the Cardinals, you got the Pirates. They're 3 games back behind the Cardinals, but they've lost their last 2 games and are kind of limping to the finish line here. So if the Cardinals can avoid the sweep today, in my opinion, it would be a small miracle, considering it's Christopher Sanchez on the mound. The way the Phillies are playing right now, everything momentum-wise is going forward for them, while the Cardinals are just, we're just like, dude, we just need a break. We need a break. And all those rainouts that maybe helped them earlier this season, now they're starting to catch up because you're having to make up all these games, and it's It's been tough, man. It's been tough, but again, nobody's going to feel sorry for you. The Cardinals did win the game that Christopher Sanchez pitched last time around. So that was in St. Louis, but both of these teams were in completely different spots, health and energy-wise at that point. It feels like that game was a month ago, and it really wasn't. But, yeah, it ain't going to be easy today. Whew. Good luck, boys. That's all I can say. Good luck. Thanks for making Locked On Cardinals first listen every day. If you haven't already, give us a follow on X at @LO_Cardinals, TikTok, Instagram, Locked On Cardinals. Like, subscribe on YouTube. For your second listen, check out MLB Game Night, every game, every night until the World Series champion is crowned. You can get local analysis on a national scale. Find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. Oh, shout out real quick to the Savannah Bananas, Adam Wainwright, David Freese, Matt Carpenter. While the Cardinals have been out of town, the Bananas have been at Busch Stadium, a packed, sold-out Busch Stadium. Good to see that happening. But it was cool to see those guys taking some swings and doing their thing. So you guys are the best fans of baseball for a reason. We'll see you next time on Locked On Cardinals. I don't mind the Savannah Bananas. People who get mad about them are silly.